pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased. A reaffirmation of the fact, open your eyes wider, the world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. July 1st is National Doctors' Day in India, and 1st of July 2022 is when India bans single-use plastic. Our guest today is a perfect fit for both. Professor Abdul Rashid Gatrad is consultant paediatrician at the Manor Hospital and Professor of Paediatrics, University of Kentucky, Wolverhampton and Lahore, Pakistan. He is also the founder of WASUP, World Against Single-Use Plastic, which is now global and in 50 countries. He has a special qualification in Planetary Health and is a member of the Climate Change Committee of the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. He is working with the Walsall and Wolverhampton Sustainability teams and local councils. At the age of 75, he still works in the NHS, now in his 51st year. For having reduced the death rates in babies, he was made a Freeman of the Borough of Walsall. For improving access to children into West Midland Hospitals, he was awarded an OBE. He has been on various committees and written over 80 papers in international journals and has authored 2 books. He holds 3 doctorates: Doctor of Medicine, Doctor of Philosophy, and Doctor of Science. As CEO of Midland International Aid Trust, he has delivered medical and humanitarian projects to over 20 countries. In 2014, he was made Deputy Lieutenant to Her Majesty the Queen. Listen in as Professor Gatrad shares his amazing journey and what helped him find his purpose. His passion project was WASUP, World Against Single-Use Plastic. What an honor to have you, Professor Rashid, on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. A warm welcome to you. And seeing the work that you have done just with this beautiful project, but a very timely one, WASUP, World Against Single-Use Plastic, such a meaningful one. And at the beginning, I would only like to say that this piqued my curiosity to find out what was little Rashid like to the very meaningful causes that you are fighting for now as Professor Abdul Rashid Gatrad. Can you please share your journey?
Okay, I think in a word, what was little Rashid like? Very naughty, in a word, okay? Because I used to play a lot of cricket, and I used to play cricket within the house, break window panes, so I used to have to be paid for. In other words, I used to be punished by my dad, etc. So I mean, at the age of 5, when my dad took me up the steps to meet my first teacher, and fortunately my dad was one of the people that was well respected because he had actually set up the first Asian school, okay, in Malawi. And because it was run by the British then, and we didn't have education, so it's the first one that we had. We used to have a Gujarati school where I went to when I was 4.5. So going up the steps, and there was Mrs. Fernandez. We had some Goan teachers, fantastic teachers. So he said to Mrs. Fernandez when I was 5 to say, I would like you to make Rashid a doctor. Okay. And you know what she said? I will do my best. Okay. Little did she realize that at this stage in my life, I would have got 3 doctorates: Doctor of Medicine, Doctor of Science, and Doctor of Philosophy. Yeah, so that actually brings me almost to today. But let's go back to where we were. Yeah, so that's where I went to a school where I thoroughly enjoyed it. I made some lovely, lovely friends there, who I still keep in touch with, 2 or 3 of them. One of them is in London, other one is in Dubai, doing very well. And neither of them are doctors, but I think both of them made much more money than I did. Made much more money than I did, ever will. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you said Malawi. So how did that journey from there begin? And where all did you move, or did you complete?
Okay. Well, see, what happened then was when I got to the age of about 11, in fact, 10 and a half, 11, I actually, there was no secondary education. And, you know, in the Asian culture, everybody wants to make you a doctor or a lawyer. We're talking about, 1960, okay, where I'll make my mere bete ko main doctor banaunga. ठीक है ना? हाँ, तो वो तो है ना. I think we get it in our head. But at the age of 10, 11, there were no secondary schools. No secondary schools. But, there was, our teachers were fantastic, Mr. Kambu, Mr. Hiralal and Kudabaksh, all these guys, Mr. Malik, all these guys were very, very, supportive. And sometimes, we as people don't believe in ourselves, yet our teachers do. Okay. So anyway, so there was a scholarship going. And so about, I don't know how many 100 people applied for the scholarship. And I was so naive. And we had to fill in a form to say, what's your surname? I didn't even know what a surname was. So I asked my dad and said, what's the surname? So he says, oh, it's actually Gatrad. I never heard of it until the age of 10, because we used to be called after our father's name. My father's name was Mohammed. So I used to be called Abdul Rashid Mohammed. So Gatrad, I said, fine. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I went to his exam, hundreds of people there from all over Malawi. And then a couple of months later, our headmaster walks in and he says, 4 people have been chosen from the whole of the country. And there is a Gatrad from this school. And he actually came into our class. And he said, I didn't even know that I was a Gatrad. He actually walked away. So my sister, who was in the same class, said to me, Rashid, it's you. You need to, So that's how it started. So I got the scholarship, went to Zimbabwe, which was Rhodesia in those days. And something, I thought I was quite bright at that age, and because my dad thought I was clever, but I don't think I was particularly. So when I got there, actually, they gave me these funny things, which people these days, non-verbal, verbal exams and all that sort of stuff. I didn't have a clue. You give me about mathematics. I could tell you 22 miles timetable, or because our Hingora master, taught us these tables like they do in India, just like that. But, I totally failed that. Okay. And I was put in a class called 1D, 1A, B, C, D. Right. And, my heart sank. But fortunately, this is where moments in time come in. There's a chap called Aziz Osman. Okay. He's a very good friend of mine, a fantastic cricketer. He was a national hero. And he was doing his O-levels at the time. And I was sharing a room with him. Yeah. He said, Rashid, don't worry. What we'll do is we'll get you into A. Okay. But you have to work very hard. Okay. So, because he knew I played cricket as well. And cricket is my passion. Okay. Which I'm sure lots of Indian listeners would actually, relate to. So anyway, him and his brother, they both worked hard on me. And I was, I think, the first person to go from 1D to 1A. Because 1D, the future was either you do gardening, yeah, or you do bricklaying or something like that. Because this was a mixture of cultures. There were Africans there, Indians there, what we used to call mixed race there. So there were lots of people there. So it's a question of getting skills. So fortunately, I get into 1A. Yeah, a lot of struggles because I wasn't that bright a guy, okay, compared to all these guys, I mean, there was Arvind Nayak there, wow, Mahesh Ranchod, wow, these guys were, wow. Anyway. Anyway, so we went through
You
our...
still remember their names? Oh my God, they must have created quite an impact.
Yeah. And I also liked the young lady there. You know, I don't know whether I should tell you her name because she may actually be around. And I just fell in love with her, like you do when you're a teenager. Anyway, so so you go through your teenage years and all the rest of it. So, and we got to O levels in those days. I did okay in the O levels, and then again a stop. Moment in time, moment for decision. So there were no science classes in those days, and I wanted to be a doctor, remember. How the hell are you going to do this? Now, this is where, you see, apartheid comes in, because our school, there were no white people there. They're all non-white people. And even if you went to a toilet in town in Salisbury, for whites, non-whites, you went to cinema, whites, non-whites. So it's all going through apartheid. So we just accepted it as it was. And the apartheid system was such that you actually slow down the bright ones, okay, because you don't want bright ones to be running the country in the future. But anyway, so I started doing Latin, French, and economics. So I did French, Latin, and economics at A level. And then I went home, and Dad says to me, because Dad had just done 2 or 3 classes in India and was just about could write English, and Mum never went to school. So I said to Dad, I said, look, I can't be a doctor with this. So he says, we need to send you to England. So we went to see a lawyer, and this lawyer said, oh, you must send him straight away to England. This was December. So I come up to England, it's snowing, and this Aziz guy actually comes to pick me up again. By now he's in London doing chartered accountancy. Can you see how important that chap has played his life? So I stayed with him and his wife at the time. By this time he got married. And I stayed with them. And I wanted to go to Brighton, do A levels in 1 year. I thought I want to be a doctor fast. Well, he said to me, sit down, young man, take it easy, go slow. Yeah, the journey ahead is going to be hard. A levels is no fun. Okay, 2 years, that's what you do. My advice is 2 years. So anyway, instead of going to Brighton, I settled in London. And then I did 2 years there. But even at the college where I went in Harrow, people said to me, Rashmi, that I don't think you'll be a doctor. In fact, instead of doing 3 A levels, you must only do 2. Because my marks in zoology, which I thought was my favorite subject, for some reason, I didn't get enough marks. I think for listeners to know that, I think it's a journey where I'm not the brightest spark, yeah? But one thing is certain, you work hard, you got faith in yourself, and you have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So I was asked to stop doing A levels at the first year. So I was only doing 2 A levels now. Okay. So I did the 3rd A level privately in my own home. And, we had to dissect a dogfish as a dissection as part of zoology. So we used to rent out a building from a Jewish family, and Jewish people have outside their houses a little thing where they pray. So I used to study there as much as I could. Okay. And I used to travel by bus one way to Harrow and back. It used to take me an hour each way. So I used to leave at about 7 and come back at about 7. So that 1 hour was spent studying physics, chemistry, and all that. So anyway, to cut a long story short, again, I got the highest marks that I could get in the whole college, and Leeds University then accepted me. So I went to Leeds University, but money at that time became very tight because the Malawian government, the Africanization had taken place now. So we were from one end of getting white rule to a very strict black rule. So we were not getting money sent for our education. So my brothers and sisters were coming on stream because my younger brother is a doctor. My youngest brother is a chartered accountant at quite a high-flying management. And he's got lots of properties, etc. And all my sisters are actually professionals. So they were coming on stream. And my dad always said to me that, look, if you actually succeed, your brothers and sisters will. Okay. So no money coming through. So I had to become a postman to earn just the niceties of life. to be able to go out to McDonald's or something like that, to have a nice pair of shirt or something. Okay. So I did that for a short period of time, just before university and soon into university. Yeah, and then I think the journey begins differently because I enjoyed working at university. Again, somewhere in the middle, I had made some lovely friends. Somewhere in the middle of that hump where you get the majority of the children. I got a couple of distinctions on the way, but that's just sort of other people got them as well. Okay. So once I qualified, that was in 1971, I then went for some jobs. Okay. And discrimination was really rife, Rashmi. Really awful. Okay. And the sort of jobs that we were getting in 1971 for a junior doctor were the sort of, nobody else would want those jobs. Okay. So I remember, I just didn't have a job. And then somebody gave me a job in Bradford. Okay. And having got that job, I was excited. And then that job actually was given away to one of my classmates who used to happen to be white. Okay. So I lost the job. It was promised, didn't give it to me. Anyway, fortunately, to cut a long story short, I got a job in Wakefield, which is where I met my wife. Yeah. So I impressed her. She impressed me. So we got married a year or two.
She too is a doctor? She too?
No, she's a nurse. She's a nurse, yeah. So we got married in 1975. Yeah, so we're still married, thankfully. She's still married to me, so I don't know why, but she's still married to me. Anyway, so we've got married for well over 45 years now.
What drew you to pediatrics, Professor?
It's actually, it's very interesting. I actually wanted to be an obstetrician because I really loved delivering babies. Yeah. And that is something that was hugely important. And in a sense, because when I go to Africa, I'll tell you the story of how philosophy changes. But I had a back problem. And interestingly, nobody could diagnose it, Rashmi. Nobody could diagnose it. And everybody was looking at these x-rays and saying, we don't know. But anyway, when I actually became much more senior, I'd look at the x-rays myself. Okay. And I knew what was wrong with me. Okay. And that operation took place in 1988 when I was a consultant. So it's way, way after that. But that's going very much quickly into the future. But anyway, here I am, qualified, got job, lots of jobs here, there and everywhere. Again, not with ease. Now you wouldn't go through this, but bullied. Yeah. So there are 4 doctors, 3 whites and me. They would give me duties that weren't as great. And they would say, why didn't you do this? If you do it, they say, why did you do it? That sort of stuff. So we took it. And one day, actually, I really had had enough. So I actually told this lady consultant in Doncaster, that I am going to actually take you to the General Medical Council, okay, for what you've said and done, okay? And she thought this was serious. And then she actually apologized. So I said, I won't accept your apology. What I want you to do is the people who were there at the time that you insulted me, I want you to sit there and tell them that you were wrong.
Wow.
That's the only way I would accept your apology.
What gave you the courage to do that?
Sometimes I was not that sort of a guy, but I think, enough was enough at that time. The question was, do I leave this job or do I now fight back? Okay. Because you see, that actually discrimination just plagues you right through. Yeah. And then I got lots of degrees and diplomas and, altogether, I wanted to be better than everybody else. So I got 7 to 8 degrees actually, totally. Yeah. Okay. Over the next 4-5 years. And then I'm ready to be a consultant. Okay. So I go and see a professor.
When this entire insulting episode happened and you took the courage to confront it, because most of us have this fear of fear, which stops us from doing what we can do. And when we really fight the demons within and go ahead and do the act is not as scary as the thought of the act. And sometimes just taking that first step is all it is, and the rest, whatever happens, opens a Pandora's box or a
Yeah.
miracle box. In your case, what box did you open?
Well, the thing is, I think from my point of view, nothing very much really, because I think I still remained, I took a lot of rubbish still from people, continued to, because I didn't want my career. Right up to few years ago, I just wanted my career to go smoothly. And I knew I had to have to work harder. And, as Abraham Lincoln said, he said, I'll always walk forward slowly, but I'll run with you, but I'll never walk backwards. So that actually always stuck with me to say, yes, I'm also always going to go forward with this. So I'll go slowly, but I'll get there. Okay. So I met this professor and I said, look, his name was I can tell you because he's dead now. And I said to him, he's written a book or two in pediatrics, very good books, I might say. And he said, well, your color's wrong to be a consultant. He said, what you do is become a GP or you become a community pediatrician. Community pediatricians had a very bad name. In other words, these were Asians who couldn't get a proper consultant job. Or they were psychiatrists, Asians. Or they were orthopedics, Asians. Or they were GPs, more and more Asians. So that's what he said to me. So I said, okay, if I was a white boy, what would you do? Yeah. So he said, I would say to you, go away for a year, have different, and then publish a couple of papers. So I said, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So anyway, so I went then to Africa, where I was born, in Malawi. Okay. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a long story. And the person who got me the job was Aziz Osman, the same guy, because he was actually at the Catholics hospital as their trustee. Can you imagine how important that person has been in my life? He says, Rashid, I'll sort you out. Okay. Anyway, so I got the job. But the thing was, after I got the job, because I'm a pediatrician, remember, okay, and I didn't do obstetrics because of my back, because the heavy things that you've got to wear, etc. So, and you have to stand long hours, and I've got a back problem that was operated later on when I was a consultant. So then I came back. One requirement, Rashmi, was this, that I need to do obstetrics in a big way. In other words, I've got to do cesarean sections. Okay. Now remember, I've trained in obstetrics for 6 months. That's where my Doncaster scenario and nightmare was in obstetrics. Okay. So I knew bits about it, but it was 7-8 years gone, behind me. Okay. And my peers are actually getting consultant jobs. And here I am going to Africa to try and get a different experience. So I came back and I was in Oldham. And in Oldham, a very interesting thing happened. One day, a little child came along, okay? And I was with my consultant who was at home on duty. And somebody rang me up to say, oh, there's a child that's coming. Could you please come and see one of my junior doctors? Because by this time, I'm much higher, but not a consultant yet. So I said, okay. And this lady was from Zambia. Yeah, her name was Dr. Piri. So we talk about 1977. Okay, so all this is happening from 71 to 77. So I said, Grace, I'm just about to go home now. And I was not on duty when she rang me. She says, oh, the other registrar, when he comes, I don't know. So I said, okay, Grace, I'll come and see. Anyway, when I saw this child, Rashmi, she was completely, totally like moribund, white as cotton. Okay. And I thought, crikey. So I said, where did she come from? They said, the boss has actually sent her in with an ear infection. So I said, an ear infection can't make you so white. She's deathly white. In other words, she's nearly dying. Okay. So I had to listen to her heart, Rashmi, and I couldn't hear her heart at all. And she's pale as a sheet. But she's alive. She's talking. Her heart I couldn't hear because the heart was covered with blood. She had a bleed outside the heart. Okay. And she had what we call cardiac tamponade. Leaving it is not an option because you die. Okay. So I rang up Dr. Hilson, the boss. I said, look, the child you've sent in, he went to see the child at home. So he did the right thing to send it in, but for the wrong reason. Okay. So I said, look, Mr. Hilson, because he's my boss, we need to do something serious. I want you now here. Otherwise, her name was Rachel Deacon. So I said, Rachel is otherwise going to die. Okay. So he came in. I'd done an X-ray by this time and confirmed that this heart was, instead of that, was that big with blood around it. So I said, what shall we do now? Because this kid's not good. He says, I don't know what to do. So I said, she needs that blood removing from that. There's a heart, there's a thing around it, which your medical chaps will know about, called the pericardium. So the child had actually bled into the pericardium, into the sac. So I said, look, I've seen one procedure done in my life where you stick a needle into the heart and get that blood out. Okay. He says, I've never done one, never seen one. I said, what do you think? He says, go for it. I went and saw the parents. I told them, just expect the worst scenario. Okay. All I'm going to do is I'm going to try and save your baby's life. I cross-matched 6 pints of blood. Okay. 6 pints of blood. Okay. And these guys were saying, why? I said, I'll need it because I don't know how much I'm going to get out. Anyway, I did my Bismillah, put my needle straight through into the heart, praying that I'm in the right spot. Remember, if I'm the wrong spot, which is called into the heart, then I'm dead and she's dead. Okay. So anyway, so I put some stuff and the blood started gushing out, Rashmi. So I thought, crikey, am I actually in the heart or outside the heart? So what I did was I took, this barium, the white stuff you drink, I stuck some of that stuff in a dye to see if it disappears in the body, then I know that this girl is going to die. But if it stays there, that means I'm in the sac. It stays there. And I removed 2.5 pints of blood. And I gave this kid 6 pints or so. I can't remember what it was. Anyway. So then it was a question of finding out why she had it. And I never heard of the condition. The condition she had was what's known as Kawasaki's disease. Okay. And it's a Japanese, the only thing I'd heard of was Suzuki, rather than Kawasaki. Anyway, so that's what the child had. And it was a new condition that was coming up. Now everybody knows about this condition. Yeah, where you get this. So anyway, so when the bosses realized that I'd done that, I got a senior position. Okay. So somebody said, look, this Gatrad guy, you must have him. So anyway, around this time, so I became a senior registrar now, ready to go to Africa. But now I need 6 months training in obstetrics. So whilst I'm on call with Dr. Hilson, I'm training to do operations on women, especially at night, that are cesarean sections, but assisting them, rather than, because I can't, they would actually stop the unit, they would close the hospital down. So anyway, so when I went to Malawi with my wife, we thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely fantastic. My parents were there. So many people came to see us there. And I played a lot of cricket. But for the first 2 or 3 weeks, no operations. Okay. And then I get a call to say, there's a baby stuck. Professor Gatrad, Dr. Gatrad, not professor then. Could you please come in, sort this out? I said, Marge Baba. Yeah. I've got to use my skills here. Okay. First operation I'm doing on my own ever. I know what to do. Yeah. We started the work at 10 o'clock. I finished at 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it took me 6 hours. I tell you what, there was more sweat on the ground than there was blood from the patient. Okay. Yeah. Remember, you're operating on these people where there's no blood as a backup.
Yes.
Because blood is actually sitting outside, which is a relative. And you know that from being in India. So anyway, so minimal loss of blood, baby's fine, mother's fine. I sat down and I prayed. Done. Yeah. First cesarean section, done. Okay. And then I did loads after that. But the confidence came back. Okay. But the beauty about being in Malawi was that I enjoyed it so much, I didn't really want to come back. Okay. Because I had a lot of respect. Most importantly, I was playing a lot of cricket because I played national cricket against other countries. You see, I used to bowl and I used to be a slip fielder. So we did that. And then the question was, it was an ultimatum to go back to the UK. So I went back to the UK, and all the people that were my juniors by this time have become consultants. Okay. And I'm applying for jobs, Rashmi, and nobody wants me. I've got so much experience. You know, people actually telling me, Rashmi, oh, you're too qualified for this job. You know, somebody just pipped you at the post. Huh? Okay. And, you know, I used to be with a chap called, I forgot his name, Alistair Bomford. Yeah, Alistair Bomford. You know, I went to interviews. I meet Alistair all the time. I said, Alistair, not got there, not got there. And then suddenly, Alistair disappeared. He's got a job. Wow, well done. Okay. Now, I've gone through to 10 interviews now. I've produced some papers. I've written some papers. So that's what that professor wanted me to do. I've done it. I've been to Africa, done it. I'm still struggling. So what happens now? Yeah. People are telling me, going to general practice, you know. My dad said to me, look, you can do it. My mom says, you can do it. My mom had told me when I came to England, beta, jo doctor nahi banega, to wapis kabhi nahi aana. Don't ever come back home if you don't become a doctor when you go to London. Yeah? Because London se jo log aate hain na, unko kehte hain LRDF. LRDF यानी London Returned Damn Fools. ऐसा? So
No, but what was it with medicine that your dad liked you and dreamt for you to become a doctor?
I think it's an Asian thing.
That's it.
I want my son to be a doctor.
No, but he could have pushed you to be an engineer, a lawyer. Why medicine?
Nay, I think he said, no, he had planned. Me, doctor, my younger brother, engineer, yeah, and the third one, lawyer. That's my dad's plan. Okay. But it didn't work out that way. Yeah, because I had to guide him later on. You know, said, Papa, you can't do it this way. I think you've done it to me. It's worked. Okay. But when it came to my younger brother, and Dad said, you became an engineer, do you know what he wanted to do? He says, I want to be like Rashid. I want to be a doctor. So wo bhi doctor ban gaya. So he became a GP. That was his sort of career. So anyway, so I did a lot of interviews, you know, and people telling me all these things. But I think, you know, something else, I'm very spiritualistic. I think I mentioned to you before. And, you know, you believe in it. And you say, well, I'd been to Aberdeen. I'm going down the alphabet, yeah? I've been to Aberdeen. I've been to Bradford. I've been to Coventry. I've been to Devonshire, you name it, okay? Manchester, coming down the alphabet. Now, I've got an interview in Walsall. W, okay? Now, M6 जो है ना, बड़ी सी motorway है. And M6 actually goes from Manchester area right through to London area. Anyway, so it was being built. We talk about 1982 now. Okay, so I've been qualified 11 years. Most people become consultants after 8 or 9 years. So I've been qualified nearly 11 years now and still looking for a job. So a lot of road works, no mobiles in those days, no mobiles. That's important. My wife and I are toddling along. 2 baje interview hai, 2 o'clock interview. Pahunch jayenge, theek hai. We are stuck on the motorway. Okay. And I said to my wife, kya karenge? I don't know what we're going to do. Yeah. Because my interview is at 2 o'clock. Aadha ghanta nikal gaya idhar. Okay. So I said to her, aisa karo, why don't you get out of the car? Yeah. Wo jo bade phones jo hote hai na, wo workers, they used to have big phones to ring up, whatever. I said, can you go over there and tell them, here number hai hospital ka, ke will be delayed. Wo kehte, Baba, tu buddu hai. I said, do you think I'm going to be sitting here whilst your car is going away? Main kya karungi? I said, you are right. Kya karenge? So Rashmi ji, this is where my life changed. Life changed at that point. Yeah. मैंने कहा या खुदा अब क्या करेंगे? मैंने कहा
खुदा gave you the answer.
मैंने कहा कि look, ये मेरा problem नहीं है, तेरा problem है. Yeah, okay. You get me out of this, okay? And I'm just going to change my life for you, for good. Okay? So, you know, Rashmi, I don't know how. We got to that interview with 10 minutes to spare. मैं हमारा मुंह धो के वगैरह, as I was fresh, बैठ गया. Alistair तो नहीं था, वो तो उनको तो job मिल गया था ना. So there's some new fresh faces with me. मैंने कहा चलो नवी journey शुरू हो रही है. So I got that job. Okay, I got that job. Lekin, the problem is, it's a sort of job. It was in a rundown place where the mortality of babies was the worst in the country, worst obstetric unit, worst care of children. So when I got the job, I went back to my boss and I said, Kya karenge? I've got the job. He said, Rashid, just take it. Yeah, I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. First of all, you've got the job. And secondly, only thing you can do is bring it up because can't go any further down. Okay, all right? So the challenge, Rashmi ji, was this challenge. I needed to bring the death rate of babies that was 19 per 1,000 newborn babies below. Just drop it down. Anyway, with God's grace, good team around me, some leadership qualities from me, we brought it down to 9.8 in 5 years.
Congratulations. That's so powerful and meaningful.
9.8 in 5 years. But in the meantime, मैंने खुदा को वादा किया था कि I'll do something big. Okay? Something big to start with, and then I'll give my life to you. Okay? So, in the sense that, I'll do a lot for humanity. वो मेरा मकसद वही था. Okay? Are you okay me talking in Hindi sometimes? Yeah. ठीक है ना? Okay. Okay. So I built a big mosque. There wasn't a mosque in Walsall. And the reason I built that mosque was, there were people in corners, बैठे होते हैं, cigarette पीते हैं, drugs there. I said, I don't want this. I want the children of my city, right, to be actually doing something. Mine isn't a religious thing. You can go and pray at home if you want to. Yeah. But I want these children to be guided. Okay. And for them to be guided, you need a place, a focus. So I got that built over 10 years. It took me 1984 to 1994. Okay. I raised £3 million. Okay. For that mosque. So that's what happened there. So we built that, sorry, not 3 million, 1.3 million. It was classed as 3 million, but we did it for 1.3 million. So that was my biggest achievement. Okay. And the fact that I'd actually dropped the things. And then I think, then as a doctor, lots of things happen, like, you become examiner or whatever. So talking about examiner, I somehow broke the door and got into becoming an examiner for diploma in child health, which is a qualification, but a lower qualification. But I was an examiner. Wow. I'm an Asian examiner. Wow. Okay. I'm a consultant pediatrician, acute, looking after sick kids. Wow. Everybody thinks this guy, he should be ek gora mujhe mila. His name was Climo. Wo bhi bichara pahunch gaya upar. Climo tells me, how come your color's wrong to be a pediatric consultant? He tells me straight. Okay. I bite my tongue. Maine kaha kuch kehna nahi. You just, the thing is, your actions should speak for themselves. Kissinger said, if your actions speak for yourself, why interrupt? Yeah. Because everybody thinks you're whatever you are. Why tell them how good you are? Because that's for other people to decide. Okay, take care. So I got the job. I did the mosque. I decreased the death rate of babies. And then I became an examiner. Okay. This examiner was actually a big breakthrough. Now, for the specialist exam, which is what made me a consultant, you actually need a higher exam. And there were no Asian guys. So I actually stood up. Now, this is the second time I stood up. Okay. And I said to these guys, I said, DCH exam, I'm one of the first Asian person. I was the first Asian consultant in the whole of West Midlands. I'm the first Asian consultant as a DCH examiner. All right. And I've dragged a few people in. Yeah. तो वो कहते हैं बाबा चुप रह जा. तो मैंने कहा नहीं मैं कहूँगा. I told them, why are we not MRCP examiners? Next thing we know, MRCP examiners. Okay. You know what the condition was? We use my hospital as an examination center, because it's bloody hard work. Okay. To set up an exam is hard work, but they wanted to teach me a lesson. Okay. I said, fine, no problem. It'll be fine. So ho gaya. So then actually all the Asian people then got. So we broke a lot of glass ceilings.
Yeah. So the question here that I want to ask you, Professor, is when you set out on that journey to ask, to question, what is it that you'd like to tell people who have that fear to question? Is it something that you have to do in order to get what is rightfully yours? Or what happens? See, in your case, they listened and it moved. What happens if your question is not even heard?
I think you have to gauge the situation as to where you are and what you want in life. Even now, there are a couple of things that I could say to people at this stage in my life where I'm hoping that a couple of things might happen, which will give me an extra master key to be able to do what I'm doing. Yeah. So to me, anything that happens to me is giving me a key, master key. So darwaza khul jate hai samajh aap. But the thing is, doors that God opens, humans can't close.
That is true.
Straight as that.
Very true.
Okay.
And talking about God and humans, I think the one thing that connects both of them is nature. For a lot of people who don't believe in the presence of God, and call themselves atheists, it is that nature becomes a living proof of a power above us. And that is where it is important for us to understand that at this point in time, especially in the last 2 years, nature thrived with our absence.
No, absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So where did nature come in such a beautiful journey of yours with children and human beings?
Well, the thing is, I think, once you start looking at children, I've written a book on palliative care for South Asians. So what happens, the end of life of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs. And I've written another book of caring for Muslim patients. I've written a few books, which are like textbooks for nurses and doctors. So whilst that's happening, this is where I think what you do takes you to another step. You see, I get invited to be a professor because I had done so much academic work. And by this time, I forgot to mention this to you. Quite by chance, I gave a lecture on differential growth of children. In other words, people were classing Asian children growth same as English children. And we're talking about 1982, 83, when I was just a consultant. So I looked into this, and there was a difference. Okay. So I actually gave a talk at one of the universities to say, look, there's a difference. And this is the evidence for it. So one of the guys comes along to me. His name was Birch, 1984, 85. Whilst we're building the mosque, remember, at the same time. Okay. So Birch says to me, Dr. Gatrad, some very interesting stuff. So why don't you do an MPhil, Master of Philosophy, MPhil? Okay. So I said, something, Professor Birch, I don't know. I've got a full-time job, etc. He says, well, it'll take 7 years. 7 years to do it. 4 years later, I sent him a card to say, A.R. Gatrad, PhD. Okay. So when I got the PhD, I then...
You said 4 years? But he asked you to set aside 7 years?
7 years, I did it in 4 years.
Oh.
Yeah, 4 years. Because
and
everything...
How did an MPhil turn into a PhD?
Well, after 2 years, they assessed it. And they said, would you like to get an MPhil or do you want to do PhD? So I said, in for a pound, in for a shilling, but for a pound. Anyway, so that happened. So then I got invited to be professor of pediatrics at the University of Kentucky, United States. Okay. And then I got students from there to come and teach. And then I used to go there to teach. So that's how it became. And then whilst this is happening, remember, I haven't forgotten my promise to my maker. So by this time I'm working out. This is now 1992. Okay. 1992. Something serious happens. Okay. Somebody knocks at the door. His name is Aslam. Bichara, he was actually a bus driver. Okay. So he comes up, he said, Dr. Sahab, I've heard a lot about you. Aap kaam kar rahe hai, wo hai. So I was working in Africa because I'd worked there before, and I was working on AIDS to support children with AIDS, just sort of Africa. Mm-hmm. And he wanted some help in Bosnia. Okay. So she says, I want to help some people in Bosnia who are blind. And you know how to deal with people, because you work with people who are blind in this country, which I was. So I said, all right, no problem. So better, can't change. Anyway, since then, it's 92? It's 30 years. And he's like my older brother. I talked to him twice today.
Okay.
Yeah, because him and I work in 23 countries now. Sees Aslam. So, where we had about 15,000 in his charity, we got 3 million in the charity because of the network that we have created. And then we built hospitals in Pakistan. We've got Patna. We've got, in Patna, as you know, we've got a sewing center with Savita running that sewing center. In Africa, we've got bicycle ambulances. We've got Sri Lanka. We've got wells. And we've got in Bangladesh, we've got lots and lots of houses for Rohingyas in 23 countries. You name it, we've been there. Okay. And then whilst I was in Malawi, coming to nearly 2017 now, what happens? I'm looking at this African girl and I'm looking at her face. She had a rash. So I said to her, I think we can sort this rash out. But whilst I was looking at her, she had cataracts. So I said, she's registered blind. She's walking with a stick. Why? So I had a cataract clinic going at the same time because a team that had gone with me. Okay. So I got her operated on. But whilst I was rushing around, Rashmi, I actually fell down a ditch and broke my leg.
Oh.
Okay. Now, this was 3 days into my journey in Malawi, and I was with a team of people there. So I walked on that bad leg for nearly 7 days, and I came back, and I was ill for 5 months. Okay. And I developed sepsis and everything else. But the relevance of that is that whilst I was in hospital, I was saying to myself, yeah, Allah, kya karenge? I can't actually go to these countries because it's Sri Lanka, Malawi, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, India, Pakistan. Sorry, not India, Pakistan, I've been to. So I said, I won't be able to travel. So I need to do something because I need to continue to serve you. That's my promise. So next morning, I get this tray with lots of plastic on it. Yeah, everything's plastic. So I saw this program that David Attenborough had produced on the television called Blue Planet. Okay, it's all about how plastic is eating up this world. Yeah, and I thought, good God, this is serious stuff. But next morning, I knew what I had to do. 2017. Okay, I am going to work plastics. So I started off the plastic campaign, whilst now I'm becoming part-time at the hospital.
No, one sec. But what gave you the confidence that because the community was already in place, you just thought you'll take the thought forward with them, or this entire plastic thing just resonated with you, and so you went ahead? What gave you the courage to go ahead with something like that?
Rashmiji, I think to explain that would be not easy. I think to me, it's like a divine inspiration. Yeah. Now, when you have an idea, right? Like you talk about Gandhiji, for example, and I can't compare anywhere near there. Yeah. He's fighting for something. Yeah. He believes in something. And slowly, he has to convince people about his cause. Okay. And it wasn't easy for him.
Yes, it was.
And, a lot of criticisms. And, a lot of people are like crabs. They want to bring you down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And because they want to be recognized, but they can't do it. Yes. Yeah. So those crabs, either you kill them, yeah, or you tell them you go somewhere else, or you say, join me, and you'll become a master crab with me. Okay. Yeah. So there are various ways of doing it. So initially, even the Friends of the Earth, yeah, said to me, but now I was a professor, you see. So Professor Gatrad, what about this thing that you've done? I don't think we as Friends of the Earth are a global organization. Okay. We've not been able to do it. So you're just wasting your time. So I said to this chap, Ben, yeah, you've never worked with me. All I'm saying is let's do our best. Okay. Because WASUP is, by this time I thought of the word WASUP, World Against Single-Use Plastic. So I said, it's Walsall against single-use plastic. But one day, mark my words, Ben, it's going to be World Against Single-Use Plastic. But I want people like you to be on board. not on board. Okay. 1 year down the line, I've got hold of school teachers, vagera, because see, the difficulty I had was not difficulty. Sorry, the advantage I had was a lot of the school children were my patients, mostly white people. Okay, so I used to, get the messages to the teachers, headmistresses, vagera. So we had a steering group meeting of teachers. Okay, and then it clicked. Teachers are on behind board, council is coming on board, and I've got a few of them. By this time, what happened was that I was suddenly made what's known as Freeman of the Borough of Walsall. Now, Freeman of Borough of Walsall is huge, yeah, okay, because when I was at the Freeman of the Borough of Walsall, a Lord Lieutenant to Her Majesty the Queen came along, and he said, approached me afterwards. He says, I've seen all the country work you've done in all the countries. Would you like to be a lieutenant, deputy lieutenant to Her Majesty the Queen? Okay. Can't say no. Okay. So I became a deputy lieutenant to Her Majesty the Queen at that point in time. But prior to that, I had just been made OBE, yeah, because of the work I'd done for access of children into hospital. And that access for children is what gave me the fact that I dropped the birth rate in Walsall. That qualified me for being the Freeman of the Borough, because OB, which was lovely to get from the Queen, that I got in 2002, but in 2015-16 I got the Freeman of the Borough of Walsall, and at that point the chap came along from the Queen's office. And he offered me the Queen's Deputy Lieutenancy. So that opened up a few new doors, yeah? But now remember, I've got WASUP, I've got Queen's thing going, and now there's nobody can stop you now, okay? So then Lord Lieutenant to the Queen, a new one had come on by now, he launches my Walsall Against Single Use, and he says to everybody, right, that, mark my words, this is going to be World Against Single Use Plastic. So 2018 that happened, right? And this is where we are 5 years later. And with your Bollywood people that we spoke to earlier on. So yeah, things have really moved on since then considerably in the last 5 years. So, the operations still take place, which is my charity still goes on. We raise the money, etc. My clinical work helps support my, charity. My deputy lieutenant work carries on, and my WASUP work carries on. So all those four things carry on. So I think, there are 24 hours in the day. Okay. So I would imagine probably 16 hours are spent doing one thing or the other related to those four things. Yeah.
Wow. I think even just looking at the count of 16 hours doing all those four things is 4 hours per thing is so beautifully visually possible and doable for somebody like you. But, at this point, Professor, I would like you to just take a step back. And like Steve Jobs said, look back and connect the dots. And what is the biggest dot in the center for you that brought it all together and connected it to you?
One word, faith.
Faith. Okay. I love that word. I love that word.
I think without that and without your feeling that if you are totally selfless, and everybody's selfish in different ways. What's in it for me? And I can't say that I'm not like that at all. Yeah. There's always, I do things, what's in it for me? Yeah, sure. I'm a human. Yeah. But then when I think you see selfless service, where there's nothing in it for you, and where people are sitting under a tree and they don't know, who's providing the shade. Okay. Now that is, when that happens, yeah, you get sukoon, you get the feeling inside, which you can't describe. Okay. And for that, I think, wow. I think to be able to feel that, it's like you're saying to your mom, Mom, I love you. You can't describe what you feel for your mom. She knows what you're saying. She knows what that word love means. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. It's that sort of feeling which you can't describe.
Professor Rashid, now that you have said how global this has gone, WASUP, is there any symbol or logo that world over as a common language, because languages are different, so is there any symbol
Absolutely.
that you use to get all the members together or members understand the language?
I think talking about languages, just deviating for a minute, during COVID, the general advice that you give to people during COVID, I was able to translate it into 15 languages because I've got contacts here, there, and everywhere. And we sent it in Portuguese, we sent it in Mandarin, we sent it in African language, we sent it in Hindi, we sent it in Urdu. So we did all these things. Yeah? Simple languages, keep away from each other, wear masks, blah, blah. Okay. And our Patna place in Patna actually did masks for the poor people, free of charge. Yeah, supported by us from here. So that's it. But your question actually coming back to the global situation, we've got a website, which is www.wasupme.com, WASUP.com. And we've also got a logo. But international sign is actually this, like a W, which is World Against Single-Use Plastic. WASUP. So everybody would know that. South Africa, Malawi, India, Pakistan, you name it, WASUP. Yeah. So if you're doing any work for WASUP, you don't have to have any logos or anything with you. You can, if you do anything to us, you say, we've today worked for WASUP. And then everybody knows that you're part of the journey, part of the family, global family. All volunteers. Nobody gets paid.
Great work, Professor Rashid. And talking about those indescribable feelings, my next question is taking you to the pandemic. Everyone in the world took a step back to pause, to understand where they are, where they want to go, and nature clearly showed us who's the boss. What did the pandemic do to you, and what were your reflections from the pandemic?
I think the pandemic itself, a lot of it was negative. I think lots of people died.
Yes.
A lot of mistakes were made by governments. So that's by the by. I think that's nothing that I could control. What I could control was something through my prayers for those people that are suffering. So you can see my central bit is that, okay, even today, now I'm thanking the Lord to say, thank you for taking this afat away from us. Please take it away completely. Even today, okay? So I think pandemic has, I think it created, problems, mental or whatever. We've got to live with those things. It's created a lot of issues with economics and finance, etc., which fortunately I don't have a problem with, because इस आते देते हैं वो हाथ से double आ जाता है, समझे ना? So that is not an issue. And we're not talking about money here.
Yeah.
We talk about time. You smile at somebody. That's the closest you can get to them. You don't even have to know them.
True.
Okay? Yeah? And it's that sort of thing. Yeah? When you smile at somebody, or there's a in our religion, there's a thing that somebody took a cat across the road. Yeah? And he went to heaven just for that thing that pleased the Almighty. So I think, you don't know what pleases the Almighty. And I think, if we actually look at helping humanity, and certainly helping our planet, which is what this song is about, which is where I met you, Hamari Zameen, Hamari Zimmedari, nature ne pukara, yeah, Kudrat ne pukara. Now, that word from Shankarji, it just rings in my head. Yeah, nature is calling you. You are actually fighting a suicidal war against your own planet. Yeah, you're exploiting it. What's going to happen to future generations? So yeah, I think things have gotten worse with I think what's happening with the war, with the cost of living going up in the world. So some things have gone bad, but I think our focus should not get away from the fact that short term, whatever we are thinking, is not going to work, and that short term there may be difficulties, maybe more expensive way of living to get there, but we have to get there. There's no choice, Rashmi. There's no choice. Okay? And it's everybody's problem. It's everybody has got to be part of the solution. The world is so diluted. We've got 8 billion people. And if we say, look, it's too diluted, too many people there, they will sort it out. No. It's you. Yeah, you have got to be centered to it, and you have to draw people in to believe in what you're saying. Same thing with plastics. I had to make them believe. And important thing is, nobody gets paid. Yeah, I have not got a penny out of my being a CEO over the last 25 years. Yeah, but I've spent hours on WASUP. I've spent hours on Middle International Aid Trust supporting these countries. Yeah, but the beauty of it is that my heart is clean, that I have not raised. So I've raised a lot of money, but I've not taken a penny. Yeah, and because it's near the south, yeah, you get help from people to say, I like this philosophy. Yeah, and people ring me up to say, Doctor, मेरे साथ पैसे आप ले जाओ. Better so I used to go and ask them. अभी तो वो कहते हैं कि डॉक्टर साहब आपने हमको contact नहीं किया. Yeah, you know. So I think you build up that relationship with people, and then you can help people, and you build up a network globally. Yeah, we talk about globally. We talk about 30, 40 countries. When you got that sort of network, I mean, in Africa, we've got 22 countries with WASUP, World Against Single-Use Plastic. Yeah, just in Africa. And we've got India, we've got Pakistan, we've got various other places. So, so all of this sort of really comes to a circle. Yeah. So it is enjoyable. I'll tell you one thing. I have enjoyed my life from beginning to end. कुछ शिकायत नहीं है. Okay. And, I think if you look at it, I pray to my Lord, that He gives me life until my work's done, and work until my life ends.
And a very good point for us now. For having had such a purposeful, meaningful life, Professor Rashid, what are 3 life lessons that you'd like to leave us?
Oh, there's so many life lessons. What I've learned, something? I think first thing, this is not the lessons. I'll talk about lessons in a minute. But I think the most important thing for me has been, it's like a child. And being a pediatrician, I understand this most. You've got to learn to sit, you learn to crawl, and you learn to walk. When you learn to walk, you're going to fall down many times. But then not only are you going to walk, but you're going to run. Okay? And life is like that. There'll be lots of times that people push you down, or in nature you're just beginning to pick up. But confidence in God, the inspiration from your parents, yeah, that drives me. That drives me. Okay? So you mentioned about 3 things in life. Well, I think, as you've said, I mean, even just recently, I've got a diploma in certificate in Planetary Health at the age of 75. Now I'm 76. So the point I'm making is, there's so much to learn about life. So whoever listens has got to be a lifelong learner. There's always things that you learn that you didn't know. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is that I think you've got to be curious. Why is this happening? Why is the world getting warm? Why is the sky blue? What makes the bird sing? What makes the bird fly? Yeah? That's what you want to be curious about. So when you're curious, you learn. When you learn, you'll do something that creates a difference. And that, I think, is important. And the third, which may be probably the most important thing, is to help others and bring them to your level. Okay. Something? Everybody is born equal. Okay? And everybody that I work with, that we work with, is an important part of your life. Okay? There's the jumbo jets going over there. If that one screw is missing, which could be the lady that cleans my toilet, if that one screw is missing, my toilet's dirty, the jumbo jet's going to come falling down. Okay? So we have to respect, remember, help others. Absolutely crucial in success.
Powerful words for us to remember and carry forward. Thank you so very much, Professor Rashid, for your time, for sharing such a beautiful life. And may you stay blessed, and amen to your prayers for God to give you a cause to work on. Because I think when passion comes together so much with purpose, life becomes that much more meaningful. So,
that's true. I'll just give an example today, Rashmi. There's a very sick child that I saw today, and he's so much better. Yeah. He actually had nasty blood condition. Anyway, so I saw them. They came from far away. They came from Africa. I saw them today. And the beauty was a smile. Yeah. Okay. And I told those people today, because I'm dealing with another very sick child in South Africa, okay, who's had operated and the complete gut was removed on my advice, okay, and the child is so much better, okay. I might be a consultant, professor, or whatever, but the biggest doctor is there, okay. You're guided by him. You're guided by him, okay, and I am guided by him every millisecond of the day.
That's so true. His hand definitely is on you for the way things are falling in place. Our best wishes.
Thank you.
It's been an honor hosting you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Thank you so much for being here on the show and sharing an amazing life with us.
Thank you very much. Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Shashri Kal, and thank you for having me.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.